Hello and welcome to this live webinar by Philanthropia and Proposals for NGOs about the project plan and its role for the project proposal. My name is Dr. Eva Wieners. I'm from Germany, but I have worked as an international fundraiser for the last 10 years in Asia, South America, and other countries in Europe. I'm really excited to share my knowledge with you today about the project plan and its importance. And I hope we will get to spend a good webinar. So sometimes we encounter technical issues, so I would just ask you if you could maybe note if you can see and hear me clearly, because last time I've had computer issues and my computer crashed. So maybe some of you even joined after not being able to join last time. So if you could just let me know if you can see and hear me clearly, and then I would just get started. So I have prepared a presentation today about the project plan and its importance for the project proposal, and I will go through the presentation. I will try to make it not too long. I tend to talk too much, so I hope I can manage to make it short. And after that, we will have time for questions, and I will try to get to all of your questions afterwards. So please stay with us until the end, and then you can ask me your questions about the project plan, about project proposals, fundraising, anything that comes to mind. I'm not getting any notifications about something being an issue, so I hope you can hear and see me clearly. And I would say I just get started with my presentation. So today's topic is developing a project plan as a base of a successful proposal. This is something very important that I've seen many NGOs struggle with, because they just jump the stage of the project plan or never make it to the proposal, and they don't really see the connection between the two of them. So that's why we decided to talk about this topic today. So we will start by talking about the definition. What is a project plan? Then why is it necessary? Just very shortly to give you an introduction about that. And then we'll talk about the most important parts of a project plan. So what should be included, what has to be included. And in the end, we'll talk about how this is going to help you with your proposal and how this is going to help you with your fundraising. So what is a project plan? A project plan is a comprehensive plan about what you want to do and how you want to do it. So it describes the project you're planning with as much detail as necessary and as possible. So this is a document where you exactly map out what you want to do, what you want to achieve with your project, and how you want to go about it. And it's about the project. We will come to the distinctions between a project proposal and a project plan later, but here it is important that you really understand that it is about the project in its entirety. It doesn't matter how much funding you can get from whom. This is about the project in its ideal state, how you want to go about it, and how you want to implement it. A project plan basically takes your project idea to the next level, because if you don't have a plan, if you don't map out everything, if you don't write down roles and responsibilities and activities, etc., then you'll always just stay with an idea, and it's going to be hard for you to implement what you have thought of. So you could also say that a project plan is the roadmap for your project. So when you have a project plan, like I said before, you can take your idea and actually make it, develop it into a project. Because as long as you just have a couple of ideas, if you have things that you want to do, but you never really sit down and think about what are necessary steps, what are the resources you will need for it, what are the tasks that you have to actually work on to be able to achieve the goal that you have with your project, then it will always just stay an idea. And if you approach your work this way, your work will not be very focused, will be scattered, will not really be focused on the goal of your project. You're probably not going to be able to do very productive work. These things work as long as the project is very small and if you're alone. But once you start working in a bigger organization, you really need a plan. You need to map out things. You need to be clear about your expectations, about expectations of others. And a project plan is there to help you with that. And it makes it really clear what you want to achieve and where you're going. And it will always help you during times where you maybe have to adjust. Like right now in the Corona crisis, many projects had to adjust. But it's much easier to adjust an existing plan to something similar to the strategy than it is to just start planning something new because the circumstances have changed. So the project plan is your roadmap, it's the base, it gives you the necessary guidance to carry on with your tasks, with your activities, and with your work. So why do you need a project plan? What are the important arguments for a project plan? So mainly, the project plan is written to convince your own NGO and your own co-workers, your own team, that it is necessary to implement this project or to work on this project. So if you have an idea, if you have something that you really do want to implement, if you have collected data that indicates that you have to do a specific task, a specific project, maybe you have to convince your own co-workers, your seniors, and the board of your organization that this is a good project. So for that, you can use a project plan, because once you have a plan, you can present the benefits of your project much more succinctly. You also need a plan to plan for eventualities and challenges. Like I said before, in a situation like this one with the Corona crisis that hit everybody worldwide without a lot of preparation, you at least will have planned for some of these cases in a project plan. Of course, not the exact thing, but you still will have something like an emergency plan to fall back on. There's other challenges as well that are to be expected. Sometimes it's political challenges or challenges due to climate change, challenges due to beneficiaries not wanting to work with you, etc. And you can identify all those challenges and assign the necessary resources and assign the necessary workforce to be able to deal with them. It also helps you to get organized. So as long as you just have an idea and just work whenever a new task opens up, it's going to be very difficult to really get something done. And when you write down a plan, you have to get organized. You have to identify all the different tasks. You have to find out what is important, what you need to do first, what you need to do second, what are maybe steps that you had overlooked before. And when you write a project plan, it also forces you to gather information, because you have to fill out all the sections, you have to give information to your board, to your seniors, etc., to convince them. So you really have to sit down and find out what the situation is like, and that will again help you to plan a much better project, because the more information, the more data you have, the more data you can actually base your assumptions on, the better they're going to be. So this will help you to create a much stronger project. And writing down this plan actually forces you to gather this information, because as long as you're just working and going along and going with the flow, kind of, maybe you're overlooking something and you're never really forced to find out. But if you have to write this plan, and if you really have to find out, then that will make sure that you gather all the necessary information. So this webinar is about how a project plan actually helps you to write a winning proposal. So you don't need a project plan to write a proposal, but it really helps you. So when we talk about the parts of the project plan later, you will also see that many parts of the project plan are actually the same parts that go into a proposal. So when you have a good project plan, it's going to be much easier for you to later write a good proposal because you've already gathered all the information that you need to, for example, fill out the section about the project background. You already have a very good justification because you have to justify the project in front of your colleagues, in front of your board, and in the proposal you have to justify the project in front of the donor. So some sections are very similar. So you're already doing some of the work that you would have to do later. So it's really going to help you. But then there's something else, and this is sometimes it's the fact that instead of having a project and then looking for donors, and this way focusing on the project and the support the donors can give, that NGOs find opportunities and then they kind of tailor their project towards the opportunity only. And while, of course, this is also something we teach, and it is very important that you always tailor your proposals towards the donors' requirements, you shouldn't just do the work that donors want you to do. You should still think about the benefits that it has for you, for your beneficiaries, if the project makes sense in that scope, in that size that the donor wants from you in your circumstances. So if you have a project plan first, and then go out looking for donors, do donor research, etc., then it's going to be much easier for you to not lose track of the bigger picture, to not lose track of the actual work you want to do, and instead just working in areas that the donor wants you to work in. So this is going to help you to stay on track, to be more focused, and to actually do the work that you want to do and that your organization wants to do. So these are ways how a project plan helps you with a proposal. It also really helps you to map out everything beforehand, because sometimes organizations also run into the issue that it's not clear how much budget they actually need. So then they apply for a grant without really mapping out the budget, and in the end the budget would be much higher, and then there's issues with implementation, etc. But when you write out a project plan, you have to make a budget. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And then you already know your needs, and you know what is realistic, you know expectations, you know expected results, and you're going to be able to present your project much more realistically, but also in a much better way that will be able to convince donors as well as your board and co-workers. So what are actually the parts of a project plan? We've said before, a project plan is a basis for a successful proposal. So they have some similar points, some similar parts, but they also have some parts where they differ. So what goes into a project plan? It's basically the W questions and 2 add-ons. So you start with describing where the project will take place. Then you describe why. Why is it necessary to implement this project? Why is it important? Then you describe in detail what you want to do. So you focus on the activities. Who you want to do it with, who are the beneficiaries you want to work with, who are important stakeholders, and then the how, the strategies of how you want to achieve your goals. And then you have to talk about a timeline. When do you want to start? When do you want to end? Maybe it's not an absolute timeline, but a relative one. So you say, oh, the first phase of this project will be 5 months, the second will be a year, etc. And you have to talk about the budget. You have to have a budget for your project, because you have to know how much money you need for your donor research. This will inform more decisions further down the line. So first, when you start writing a project plan, you have to see where you now. which information do you already have and you can gather. This is a good start to write a project plan. This is actually a good start for any kind of document that you have to write, for any kind of plan, strategy, etc., to see what do you already have. Did you already write a project plan in the past? Maybe you can draw from that. Maybe you have proposals from the past that you can also use for information, etc. So gather all the information that you already have and that you can already draw from. Then you can take a look at which points are clear and which are not clear. So do you need more information about any particular part? Who is already involved in the project? Who is already working with you? Who's staff members? Who are staff members that are already involved and could support you? What are the steps that already happened? Did you already start the project without really having a plan for it? Did you already start a couple of activities? Can you include them in this plan? Can you somehow incorporate all of this? And which strengths and weaknesses should be considered in your project plan? This is also very important, to identify weaknesses as well as strengths, to draw from the strengths and to be able to avoid pitfalls from weaknesses, from risks that can occur with your project. Then you have to really explain in detail why this project, why do you want to implement this project? Because you have to think this, you're presenting this in front of maybe your colleagues, you're writing this as a base for a project proposal, and you want to convince board members, staff members, etc., that this project is important. So you really have to know why this project needs to happen. And it's also going to help you with gathering information and getting to know the communities you want to work with better, because the better you understand why you want to do something, the more into detail you have to go and the more detailed information you have to drum up. So ask yourself, why is this project necessary? Why do you really have to implement it? And which benefit will the project have? So what will come out of it? Which positive effects will the project have? So how is it going to change the situation of the people that work with you? And which new chances could open up because of the project? So what is the potential of change in this project? And really try to explain this with data. Like we said before, if you can gather information about this, then it's going to be a much stronger case that you will be able to make. So the more information, the better quality information that you can gather, the better for you, because the better and the stronger is your case going to be. Then you have to talk about what you want to achieve. Maybe you've already touched on this on the why part, but here you have to be really, really specific. What are your goals with this project? What do you actually want to achieve? What are the projected outcomes and results? And very important, what is the scope of your results? So are you going to change the situation for one community, for two communities, for an entire district, for the entire world? Be very clear about this, because in this section we see many times that NGOs also in this phase just promise too much. They overestimate their possible impact, and this is just going to lead to disappointments further down the road, because if you promise your board you will change the world and you can actually change one community, they're going to be disappointed, even though it's great if you can change life for people in one community to the better. So it's a great result, but people will be disappointed if you have promised more. So be very careful with this. And then describe how the situation will change with your project, through your project, and what the impact is going to be. Very important is also to talk about who will be involved. And this doesn't only mean the target group, it doesn't only mean beneficiaries. It means everybody who's going to be involved with the project, because it's in the project plan you talk more about the how. So you need to know who are going to be your partners, who are stakeholders that hold an interest, have a stake in this, who are people that you need to include, even if they're not beneficiaries. who are the people that you need to talk to, who can give you permission, etc. This is more about how to implement the project, and this is information that is maybe not so important for the donors later, but it's going to be very important for your colleagues, for your team, for your seniors, because they want to know if you can actually implement the project and who they have to work with. So you have to identify who will be part of the project, and of course, what is your target group? What are the direct beneficiaries, indirect beneficiaries that you want to work with? Then you have to think if there are any other concerned or interested parties that you have to take into account. So anybody else working in the same field, anybody else working with something very similar, and who is supporting the project. So are there any local politicians, any players that actually support the project already? You also have to think about if there are any people who are against the project, who can make trouble for you. Maybe you can also convince them. And you have to think about how your own team is going to be organized. So who's going to work on the project, who's going to have which task, and how is all of this intertwined. And then you get to the part where you describe the actual how. How do you want to do it? What are your proposed activities? What are the things that you want to do? What are your strategies? So what is which strategies do your activities align with? How do you actually want to achieve your goals? What are the risks and assumptions that you're working with? So do you assume the political situation will stay stable? Do you assume it will change? Do you assume the climate will stay the same, etc.? And what is your work plan? So what is the actual plan of responsibilities and tasks that you have to assign and that you have to work with? And then you get to the more concrete, or the other things are also very concrete, but this is a very specific part where you talk about the timeline. So you describe how much time each task will actually take. So this can be a timeline with an actual start date of the project. If you already know when you want to implement it, if it's a project plan for something in the future and depends on getting funding, etc., it can be relative as well. So you just say start and then you say how long the different tasks will take. So you can define milestones, different phases of the project. You can already say how they interconnect. So which tasks needs to be done before the next task can be achieved, etc. You can have a Gantt chart here that already includes responsibilities, which makes a lot of sense in the project plan because then people already know what their tasks and roles in this project are. You can put timestamps on it, or you can just put time ranges on it so that everybody kind of knows how this project is going to be implemented and what the timeline is. And then you have to talk about the budget. So I know the budget is something that many NGOs always shy away from, and it's a bit difficult. And I've also heard many times that people say, well, we can't do the budget right now because we don't know how much money we're going to have. But if you write the budget this way around, that you kind of look for the budget for the money first, and then this defines what you actually want to achieve with your project, then you do it the opposite around. You should plan your project, have a budget, and then look for funding. And if the funding that you get is lower than the budget that you had planned for, you have to look for alternatives. Maybe you can get some other revenue streams. Maybe you can get other grants. Maybe you can implement just one part of the project that still makes sense. But if you limit yourself from the start by just planning according to the budget that you can easily acquire, you're just never going to reach very far. Of course, you should stay realistic. If you're a very new NGO and you plan for a project with a budget of 10 million, that's unrealistic. But if you have a project idea that makes a lot of sense and is well based in your community and it fits to the work that you've already done and it's in your area of expertise, etc., then why not try and actually get the funding that you need to implement this specific project? It should be within your range, within your scope of work that you have done before. It should not be anything that obviously is not achievable. But if it fits within your work, then why not try and reach a bit higher this time? Because if you go the other way around, you also fall into the risk of not thinking innovatively anymore, because you will just try to tailor your work towards the donor's needs and wants, instead of really looking at what your community needs and wants, and what would be a good next step, even though some donors might not yet see it. So if you only just budget according to existing budget and existing funds from donors, you limit yourself. So it always makes sense to write a budget for a project the way it needs to look like for this project to be implemented. Of course, that doesn't mean that you will get all that funding, but it actually means that you know what you need, how much money you would need to achieve the things that you've talked about in your project plan. And it will give you much more information, and it will give you much more confidence to actually also ask for the necessary funds. So budgeting out a project will help you to understand further, to go on a deeper level as well, because researching all these things will again give you more information that you can feed into the description of your project, the justification, etc. And it will help you to really plan your work according to the need of the people you want to work with, instead of only to the needs and demands of the donors that you want to work with. Because in the end, you want to work with and for the people, and not only for potential donors. So what are the main differences between proposals and project plans? This is also important because, like we said, there are many similarities. Some parts you can even almost take one-to-one, but there are some differences. So the main differences are these 4 points: the audience, the purpose, the tone, and the message. So the audience, of course, is different because a proposal goes to donors. A project plan can be for members, can be for staff, for your colleagues, for seniors, for the board, etc. It's mostly for internal use, while the proposal is for external use. So you have this big change in the audience. The purpose, it's the same. The purpose of a project plan is to plan a project, is to map out activities, to understand how you have to go about things to achieve your purpose. And the purpose of a project proposal is to get money. So you kind of tailor your proposal to the donor's needs in as far as this is possible and makes sense. And you really want to appease to these external players. The tone is also different. Many times the project plan is much more dry because it's for people who already work in the field, who exactly know the area of work. They know the project, the organization, so it can be more dry, more facts. It doesn't have to be so colorful, and doesn't have to create emotions. While in a proposal, you should try to create emotions through storytelling or other tools to make people feel connected to the projects that you describe, to make them feel this need to support you. So the tone is very different. And the message as well. The message for a donor is you can support this and change people's lives. And the message with the project plan for the internal readers is mainly that we can do this this way, so it will work. So it's more an internal work memo kind of, but of course extended. Than having a message for the outside. So those are the main differences. But again, still they are very closely connected. And if you have a good project plan first, you can draw a lot from that for your proposal. So it's never wasted time, because having a project plan and then writing different proposals for different donors off of that project plan is much easier than having a proposal and trying to backtrack which information was put in there for this specific donor only, which information was not actually important, but only kind of answers a donor's needs. So this is going to be a base for your successful work, and it's going to help you to really plan successfully in the future and to have those documents organized for your different audiences and to be able to bring them out. So with this, we already come to the end of the presentation, of the part of the presentation on the project plan. Just very quickly, because I've talked about the importance of the proposal as well, we at Philanthropia and Proposals for NGOs have many resources about proposal writing, about fundraising in general. And just now with the corona crisis, with COVID-19 around, we try even harder to bring this content out to you, to make it accessible. So we made this bundle offer of our NGO Guide to Proposal Writing, which is a 200-page book that has a lot of these parts, a lot of the things that I've talked about now as well, definitions for proposal writing, etc. It also has a list of funding opportunities for COVID-19 measures and a full proposal template. And finally, even a proposal checklist, so you can just go through. Usually we sell these individually, and they each have a price tag of over $20, but we put this together into a bundle for $25. But actually, for people who joined this webinar today, we even have a better price. So we're selling it for $9.99 at the moment. So it's really a great bundle. It will help you to understand proposal writing better. It will also help you to write a better project plan, because it tells you how to research, how to gather information, definitions of terms, etc. So it will really help you to put your work on more stable feet. The list of funding opportunities is always helpful. The template actually helps you to follow the structure. It tells you what goes where, and it will just help you to have a first draft up very quickly. Especially if you have a project plan, it's going to be very easy for you to fill this proposal template, and then you just have to adjust a couple of sections and you will have a first draft very quickly. So yeah, like I said, we offer this for this week for $9.99. If you can, I really recommend you take us up on this offer, because it's going to help you to become a more professional fundraiser and to become a more successful fundraiser. And this is what we want to help you with. We have other online courses as well, where we explain in the form of videos and text and quizzes and PDFs for download all these topics. So, for example, we have a course on how to raise funds from European foundations, the fundraising strategy, donor research, but we also have courses on USAID, etc. And because you joined this webinar today, we will even give you a 30% discount on any of our courses. So if you use the coupon code PFN users, you can get 30% off any of our courses at the moment. So if any of that, what I described before, sounds interesting for you, please go to philanthropia.org and check out our courses. And with the code PFN users, you can get a 30% discount. So please check that out and use it if you can. Thank you very much for attending this webinar. Like I said, if you want to learn more about fundraising, please check out the rest of our course program at philanthropia.org, at philanthropia.org, sorry. Proposals4NGOs.com has a lot of resources about proposal writing as well, and all of that is free, so please check that out as well. So now we have time for questions. So if you have any questions for me about today's webinar, about any other topic related to fundraising, please feel free to type it into the question box. Yeah, if you're watching this now, please also subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you get notified when we go live. We try to do these every 2 weeks, and we also take suggestions for topics. So if there's anything that you would like me to talk about, please just let me know, and we can try to incorporate this into our next webinar. For the people that just joined this week and were also waiting last week, again, I want to apologize that we had to postpone. My computer just stopped working, and now I'm using actually a colleague's computer because I still wasn't able to fix it. But I hope soon I can stream from home again. Yeah, thanks again for attending. Until now, I don't see any questions, but I also know that not so many people joined live today. Maybe some of you will watch the rerun and then have questions. You can always contact us at eva@proposalsforngos.com as well, or info@proposalsforngos.com. We will always try to answer your questions and get back to you as fast as possible. We also have our newsletter that you can subscribe to, that also gives information on all these topics, any updates, anything we have, we share there. So right now it looks like there are no acute questions, so maybe I've already talked too long again. But if you have questions, please get in touch. Please join us again next time when we do this webinar or a different topic, and stay safe and stay healthy out there.